Thank you.
It's time for a show on Relax Radio. It talks about me and you. It's time for a show on Relax Radio. It talks about me and you. So listen to us here 24 hours and let the happiness come to you on Relax Radio. Tune in to Relax Radio. Relax Radio.
Add to stream. Okay, this isn't working again. I am on, I'm live, but I've got this banner here and not me. That look, oh, thank you. I've got my wonderful friend here providing technical support. Okay, we're waiting for Tony to arrive. We've got the balloons coming. They've arrived. We've got balloons today. It's all about the meter cube today. We've got our happy maths hour, and I have just sent a message to Tony to make sure that she's got the link, and she'll be with us any second now. So welcome to today's episode of the Happy Maths Hour. Today we are going to be looking at balloons. I'll give you a little bit of a sample here. That's perfect. I've got my balloons scattered all around me. Thank you. I've got meter lengths and I've got a, oh, look at me. I feel as I've been attacked by balloons. So this is actually a square meter. You can barely see it. Let me see if I can get it further back, move the table back, do something. We've got a nice square meter behind me. Ooh, it goes pop. It actually pops when Tony appears. It's quite delightful. And so today's episode of Happy Maths Hour is all about the scale. It's actually about scale. We're using balloons and we're using cubes and things, but it's actually all about scale. So, oh my goodness, that's interesting. And now we've got a map of the world. How delightful. I might just leave that there. I like that. That's very appropriate because we live in a hemisphere, more or less. I mean, in a sphere. Hello. Tony and I are in the northern hemisphere. I think most of the viewers on Relax Radio are in the northern hemisphere, somewhere in the northern hemisphere. So welcome. And I've managed to do the jingle. I've managed to send us live, Tony. I'm ahead of the game. I failed the last program. So we are live and I've done the jingle. So we've got 11 whole minutes to talk about. Are we going to start with the mindset? We're going to start with the cube. What are we doing today?
Let's start with the cube.
Let's start with the cube.
Are you going to show them some cubes?
Show them cubes? Why would I do a thing like that? Well, maybe I will. Maybe I will.
I know some of you are not are listening to the radio, so what we're going to do is to try and describe what Caroline's showing you, so you get the message. Okay. She has got a very big cube, and it's made of balloons, and it's orange and big enough for her to get into it. Well, we can just about see it, Caroline. The whole thing. We can't see the bottom of it.
Parts of my living room.
I want you to know how big a meter is. This is a meter cube. It's got 6 faces. All the balloons are a meter long. Now, our scale today is going to be about millimeters, centimeters, and meters. And Caroline's got some more cubes that she can show you.
Got my ruler ready. Got millimeters. Let's see.
Millimeters.
Bitty, teeny witsy ones, as wide as a human nail. Just
Yes.
literally the thickness of a human nail. The centimeter. is about the size of my pinky. And the meter we have here, there it is. There's a meter.
A meter, and of course a kilometer. And if you're going to talk about how far to the nearest town from your town, or the distance between two places within your town that's not like next door, you probably talk about kilometers. So we have really got all of these on our metric scale. That's millimeters, centimeters, meters, and kilometers. But today we're going to be talking about not just lengths but volumes, and how much you can get inside them. I mean, what you can put inside a cube.
Okay. Now we have created a video, haven't we, Tony?
Mm.
And in that video, we actually, I managed to get a meter sphere inside a meter cube. That kind of made sense. A huge balloon that's literally a meter in diameter. And what I love to talk about is, imagine, I suppose I've got to bring it back up again for a moment. Imagine if you were to fill this engages imagination. I recommend the use of it. There's two options. They're both very, very bad for you, but anyway. One is, imagine how much chocolate you could fit inside a meter cube. And I tell you, it's very powerful. It is a very powerful tool to imagine how much chocolate, if you can see the little brains go, working it out, that, and they really get an idea of the size of it. And then it depends where you are in the world, because that doesn't work in Africa. It doesn't work in Tanzania. I've tested it, and I was given an alternative, but I decided to test it. And I'm like, why not? Well, chocolate melts at 38 degrees-ish. That's the temperature of a human body. So if the temperature where you live is greater than that, then chocolate is not a very practical thing to have lying around. So, and also, fridges don't work very well. Freezers really don't work because the power is not reliable. So, sweeties, full of sugar, not good for you. But sweets, ask them how many sweeties fit inside the meter cube. The point being, get a child engaged, is make it something that they're crazy about, that they love.
And then Caroline often asks, I mean, she's doing one of her shows, and some of you may have seen them. She asks how many people can fit inside a meter cube, and how many children can fit in, and how many grown-ups can fit in, and gets them to come up onto the platform or wherever she is and actually try it. And what we always do with these activities is to plan activities for all ages. So there's always a theme running through, and this theme is meter scale. And we try to make some activities that you can do with 4-year-olds and 7-year-olds and 10-year-olds and 15-year-olds and 18-year-olds, or they can do themselves. Okay, ideally they can do themselves. And the activity that we're suggesting for little ones, for the sort of 4 to 6-year-olds, is that they make a den that's a meter by a meter by a meter. Now, of course, it could be under the table. Have your children played under the table and made it into a make-believe house? And using something like an old sheet, not plastic, please, that would be dangerous, not plastic, an old sheet, or old cardboard that somebody's thrown out to make the walls. Now, you can't actually, Caroline's meter balloons do just about make it hold up, but if you try to make a cube with something more flimsy than a balloon that's really quite wide and sort of the knots at the corner support it, it will collapse. So you can't just make your den with sticks. It'd be nice and easy if you could, but I'm sure in most households, you can just make a wonderful game of making a den that's about 1 meter by 1 meter by 1 meter, by, just about that size. And well, Caroline often takes photos of children in these meter cubes. So how many 5-year-olds can you get in a meter cube, Caroline?
So 5-year-olds, our record, well, actually, maybe might have been 4-year-olds. Our record was 20. Distorting they had to be ones that are willing to be stand super still, though, because as soon as there's a danger of them wobbling over and falling, we tend to just stop. Normally about 15, 16 4, 5-year-olds.
So there's plenty of room in a den, which is 1 meter by 1 meter by 1 meter, for one little child, one very small child, and perhaps a friend to play.
Yes, indeed. I'm just looking for the link to the activity that you've created on this. Tony's the creator of all these activities, and I have to say I didn't find the link to donate, but Tony founded an organization based in Africa which provides professional development for teachers. Go on, Tony, do your thing, do your spiel on it.
Okay, well, I work with volunteers from around the world, and a lot of the time we're not actually in Africa, we're somewhere else, and I'm in England, and we work with teachers. The idea is to empower those teachers to give the children a better education, because the children we help, the children that we want to make a difference to their lives, to give them the opportunity of getting out of the really impoverished conditions that they live in, and to get a job which will enable them to get a better life. But an education is often the ticket for that, and that's the aim. But we can't go out there and work with thousands of children ourselves, not personally, but what we can do is work with teachers, and they work with thousands of children. So my organization, which is called the Schools Enrichment Centre for AIMS, or AIMSEC, SEC for Schools Enrichment Centre, we do help hundreds of teachers. In fact, we've got more than 2,000 teachers in our community, and they help many thousands of children. And of course, it's generation after generation after generation. So it's all about empowering teachers so that they can give children the chance of a better life.
Yes, and that is, and so far, AIMSEC has trained over 2,000 teachers and influenced so many. There's one wonderful story that was told directly to me by one of the graduates, one of the alumni, and that is at the school that he taught at. This is a secondary school, a high school. Nobody ever went to university. It hadn't been done. And since the teachers did the AIMSEC and started coming back and doing further training courses, the children actually were able to reach a level where they could go to university, and now on a regular basis they have several children a year, and obviously that's on an ongoing increasing. So this is the power, and this is the beauty of it. And the thing is, the power is what the teachers are taught is, it's all about mindset. It's all about the way that the learners are taught. It isn't about it isn't about the maths itself, it's about how it's taught. Right, Tony?
Yes, indeed. But it's all about attitude to maths, really, because what we find is there's lots of very intelligent grown-ups who've had an opportunity of a good education, not like the children in many of the schools in Africa. These adults have actually got well educated and got other qualifications, and they say, I could never do maths. And that's so sad, because I'm sure they could have done, and I'm sure there was a problem with the way they were taught, but there's probably also a problem in their heads, that they somehow, from maybe quite a young age, have become frightened of mathematics, or being convinced that they actually couldn't do it. And if you're convinced you can't do something, for sure, you won't be able to do it. So parents and grown-ups and teachers should be telling the children, yes, you can. And everybody should be saying, yes, I can. And yes, we can. Not, oh, I can't do it. And the worst thing for a grown-up to say is, I could never do maths, because that somehow makes it seem okay and a natural thing that you can't do maths. I mean, it should be just like saying, I could never walk. You know, I tried when I was a baby and I kept falling over, so I decided I couldn't do it.
And my parents didn't keep encouraging me, so I just stopped. Yeah, I know, it's absolutely true. Harry's here. So he's found the link to donate. Harry, would you be able to get that on the banner? So I've got the activity on the banner, but if you could put the link to donating on the banner, that would be amazing. And then next week I'll make it my business to make sure I've put the link. So you can donate. The point is, you can donate.
But I think people should. I think people can expect to get something for their money. Actually,
I was about to say,
because quite apart from helping somebody else, what we offer is a huge collection of resources. And when I say resources, we call them learning. An easy word to use in a description would be learning packs. Okay.
Or learning activities as well. It's learning activities in a pack. That was something that was.
Yes. And one of the things we absolutely specialize in is making materials that you can use to learn, use for these learning activities out of junk, out of scrap material. So, for example, to come back to our theme of today on scale, getting some string, which is very cheap. It's not junk necessarily, but it's very cheap. And measuring a meter of string and giving it to the child and saying, now go and see what you can find that's a meter long. We want them to get used to the idea of a meter. And a piece of string, they can go and measure. They can measure furniture, they can measure, well, anything around them really, and get used to the idea of this long is a meter. Or you can roll up newspaper to make a meter stick.
Tony, I'm going to pause you there, and we're going to hold on to that thought, because we're going to talk about the activities straight after the break. So there's so many wonderful activities that you can do with materials that you have at home. Hello, Tony. Right, so we've had an activity with a piece of string, so that the child can go around the house and measure, just gets familiar with it and how big things are. And that's a meter long piece of string, which for a 4-year-old is fully outstretched arms usually. And go on, tell us, what other activities do we have on the website?
Well, I was actually saying there's massive activities, and you can access them and just download whatever you want or use them on your cell phone. You can either use the Aiming High website, just remember Aiming High, or you can use our AIMSEC app, and everything that's on the Aiming High website is also on the app. And the great thing about the app is, and that is www.aimsec.app. Okay, just as simple as that. And everything there you can download. Everything that's on the Aiming High website you can download and you can use offline, so you don't have to be using your data, you're paying for anything.
Okay, well, now I'm going to put that on in just a second. I just want to say hi to Phoebe. Phoebe's on. So Phoebe, these are activities that you can do. You might actually you can do them with your mum if you ever get to see her. But either way, these are things that are fun that you can do. Measure things with a piece of string, for example, just a simple one. And I'm just looking for a way of where I'm going to put that that banner. I'm going to put it on the banner, Tony.
Okay.
Oh, look, there's the donation button for anybody that does use the activities and you want to make a contribution because you found it valuable. Then please, that would be a great. Please donate. Now, what was that app, Tony? Tell me again. Aiming High.
Aiminghigh.amsec.ac.uk. That's
amsec.ac.uk.
not ZA, not UK. Sorry.
Sorry, I know that. AC.ZA/app.
No. That's the website.
No, the app.
Amsec.app.
The Aiming High has been on for a bit. Oh dear, amsec.app. There you go. That's the app. And I'm going to show that. There it is. There you go. You can download that on your phone and use it offline. It would be a good one for you, Phoebe. There's lots of activities on there that you might have fun doing. Call me. We'll do them together. Right.
Now, another activity that that links to what we're doing today is just to get some newspaper, and 8 sheets is ideal. There's the AIMSEC app. Harry's put that up for us, and there's masses of ideas on there just to have fun with maths. So roll up your newspaper, making a tightly rolled stick of exactly 1 meter long. Measure it. And you have got a meter stick, and you can mark it in 10 centimeter lengths. And one of those 10 centimeter lengths you can mark in 1 centimeter length. And you've got a measuring stick. Wouldn't cost you anything. You need just newspaper and some sticky tape to secure it. So, well, what we were saying for everybody is that AIMSEC is primarily to help teachers and children in the poorest and most disadvantaged communities and all over the world, but mostly we work with teachers in Africa. And we also offer these free resources to anybody who wants to use them. And they're copyright free, so well, you're welcome to use them.
So what are we doing next, Tony?
What are we doing next? Well, we want to think about how many little cubes go into a bigger cube. Okay.
Okay. So
yes. So have you got, what you haven't shown us, Caroline, is, I know you've got one there, this tiny, you showed us that it was about as wide as your pinky, your little finger, but a 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter cube. Tiny. Okay. Now,
it's huge, Tony. It covers my whole face.
Oh, come on, that's just because it's nearer to us. So it's tiny. And the big question is, how many of those will go into the meter cube? Now, now Caroline told us that of tiny children and squashing them in, she could actually put 25 children into
20.
Oh, 20. So how many of those little cubes? And you can work that out exactly. And
we've got a video on YouTube, just launched today, published today, and the link is in the description. And in that, there is some help and some cues and some visual help as well, with pictures of the children in the cubes. And there's a link both below in this description and on the description on YouTube to do the activity, the Aiming High activity. Is the home learning guide ready yet on that one, Tony?
Yes, and it will go up immediately I finish talking to you now. It's absolutely ready to go.
It's so prolific. So
I've already said that for the 4 and 5 year olds, it's making a meter by a meter by a meter den, but there's activities for every other age group as well.
And so, and that's for home learning. So these are with resources you've got at home, and any parent, any older sibling can help with it. The instructions are all on there, and you start at the bottom and work your way up. The activities that are there for a very young person are just as powerful for a teenager. Making it cute. Well, it is.
No, there are a lot of activities that are suitable for everybody, but I don't think we'll have teenagers making a den.
No, but they can make a meter cube, Tony.
Oh, they absolutely can, yes.
What I would say that to make a meter cube is no trivial task, especially one that stands up straight.
That'd be great. They'll have to learn about bracing that when you do a bridge or structure at the older. But what Caroline will show you next is the 10 centimetre by 10 centimetre by 10 centimetre box that's made out of squared paper with centimetre squares on it. And now we're going to think about the dimensions of length, area, and volume. So that box has got the edges of length 10 centimetres, and then you can easily see the face in front of you. And I'm sure you could work out how many square centimetres there are on that face, okay? And then that little tiny cubic centimetre, how many of those go into the box that's 10 by 10 by 10? Okay, and Caroline's just dropped one in. And then that's a sort of bridge to help you think about the big question, which is how many of the tiny 1 centimetre cubes fit into a metre cube. So you could, by way of sort of bridging that, think about how many of those 10 by 10 by 10s fit into a metre by a metre cube, which is a metre by a metre by a metre. Do you have your blue balloon there, Caroline?
I'm going to leave a blank screen. You're on. In fact, I'll maximise you, Tony, because I just realised I don't have it right here. I'm going to make you. Woo! There you go. You got time.
Well, Caroline's got a balloon, a balloon cube, which is 1 metre by 1 metre by 1 metre, and here it is. Right.
1 metre.
No, sorry, 10 centimetres. Oh, I'm sorry, 10 centimetres. There you go. 10 centimetres by 10 centimetres by 10 centimetres, okay? I mean, roughly, it's only a balloon. A balloon.
Yeah, it's a balloon. And it shrinks as well. Every hour, it shrinks a little bit.
I think it's smaller than it was yesterday, Caroline.
My left and rights are all opposite here, so I'm actually working out how to level them up. So I'm having to do the opposite to what I'm seeing on the screen.
So it's fun to work out how many of those cubes, which are 10 by 10 by 10, fit into the metre cube, which is 100 by 100 by 100. There you go. How it was 10 of them along that edge, and then 10 of them across. And
we're going to go to the back. Okay.
From front to back, it's also 10.
Front to back. Here we go. Front to back. Ooh.
So now, yes.
Front to back. There we go. Whee!
There we go. Now, this is all about scale, isn't it, Caroline?
Oh, look.
What a lovely cube we've got to look at.
We love
that. We've got that up there because it's hugely important, because we're going to talk about litres and things shortly. Now, Caroline, yes. So the big question everybody's got hold of was about the tiny cube and the metre cube. But what we want also to talk about is scale, because this is all about scale. So if you go from that the 2 cubes that Caroline is holding, if you can see them, are a tiny 1 centimetre cube and a cube that's 10 by 10 by 10, okay? Now, and the metre cube is behind her. So what about the scale? What is the scale which goes from 1 centimetre length, that cube, to the next one, to the bigger one? How many times longer are the edges each time?
So this is 1 Okay. Whoops.
1 to 10 is the
10.
scale.
And this again is 1
Another times 10.
Another 1 to 10.
Yes. So that linear scale factor is 1 to 10. But there's more to this story about scales and about scale factors. What about the area on the surface? How many little square centimeters are there?
So this is an area of 1 square centimeter. And this, okay, so how many square centimeters are there? This one's a nice flat face.
So what is the scale now for the area? It's not 1 to 10. There's far more than 10 little squares on that face.
10. So it's, am I allowed to say?
I think people should be working it out, and now you can tell them because they've got the answers now.
That's what I do in my shows. I'm like, no, don't say the answer, because the moment you give one person gives an answer, especially if it's the one that gives it straight away, everybody else stops thinking.
Yes.
And worse still, if the first person gives the wrong answer, then suddenly everybody not only stops thinking, but they all give you the wrong answer.
But they all believe in the wrong answer.
Because they're not thinking. They know they can work it out. They just stop thinking. So we're not in the habit of giving answers. So that's something that I tell parents all the time. If you get asked a question, the answer to the question is not the answer. The answer to the question is another question. If
It's what you think is the answer, and can you explain that? And sometimes you don't know the answer yourself.
Harry, please repeat that, because I think I spoke over you.
Oh, sorry. I think I spoke over you. The answer is, what do you think is the answer? Can you find the answer? Can you tell me the answer? And can you explain it? And sometimes the grown-up doesn't know the answer. So what you say then is, I don't know. Let's find out. And you find it out together.
Let's find out. But always allow the child to lead and do your best to not lead. It's hard, but asking questions. You're leading, but asking questions. We've got to go for a break, Tony. We've got. Okay, brilliant. I've got messages from our lovely technical person in the studio. Right, so here we go, our commercial break. We'll be back after the break with Happy Maths Hour. It's all about scale today on the wonderful Relax Radio.
It's time for a show on Relax Radio. It talks about me and you. It's time for a show on Relax Radio. It talks about me and you. So listen to us here 24 hours and let the happiness come to you on Relax Radio. Tune in to Relax Radio. Relax Radio.
Oh, I'm so glad that 10 by 10 by 10 cube is there.
I know, it's very helpful. We've got Phoebe said hi multiple times. She said okay, she's going to have a go at the activity. And then Hafsa has said, well, Hafsa's saying hi to Phoebe. Now we've got someone talking in presumably Bengali. So hello, thank you for joining us. And yeah, I can't answer, but maybe Hafsa can. Go ahead, Tony.
Well, that on the black, the 10 by 10 by 10 centimeter cube looks as if it could be made of plastic. So let's imagine it is, and let's imagine it's watertight, okay? And how much water could you put into it? And this is a very, very important question, okay? How is it if it was a plastic box that you could put water into, 10 by 10 by 10, how much water could you put into it? Now, you either know or don't know this answer. it's not something that you can work out.
No, you can, because you can work out how many cubic centimeters it is.
Ah, yes. How many cubic centimeters is it? Okay.
By the way, everybody, I know how much liquid this amount of cubic centimeters is, and it did not click for me. I did not connect the two, and that's one of the really important things that I had a lovely talk about that the other day with Tony's husband Alan. That it's the connections you make in mathematics that make it so powerful. And it's not just connections in maths, it's connections in life. It's how to connect things together. And that's one of the many life skills you get by doing mathematics in school. Because if you don't do it in school, most people wouldn't ever do it. And you learn so many life skills and the mindset of perseverance and determination and never giving up and always looking for a way. And that is a massive life skill, and you really do get that from persevering with maths. And then you get this amazing high when you get the answer, especially those of us that struggle. You get the most amazing high when you finally solve it, and it's a legal high, guys. Go for it.
Yes. And what we're going to apply this to is giving the right dose of medicine, and also cooking. Very important. Lots of other applications too. So spoons, yes.
I've got my making spoons.
So what the answer to the question that we just raised was that there's 1,000 cubic centimeters in that 10 by 10 by 10. Okay, it's 1,000 cubic centimeters. Okay?
And this is something you know very well, and it took me a while to work it out. In fact, I didn't work it out. It was only when Tony pointed it out that I realized it's something you know. I'm going to give you that.
So that is one. Yes, no prize for knowing something that it's easy to understand once you know it.
You know it. That's easy peasy. The answer is super easy peasy. It's making the connection. That's the interesting part.
Think of filling your car up, or your dad or somebody or mother filling the car up. You fill it up with liters, okay? And that 1 liter is exactly the amount that fits into that 10 by 10 by 10 cube. And
you might buy a liter of water.
Oh, it could be water, yes. Of course, it could be anything. Now, a little tiny cubic centimeter, there's 1,000 of those, right? 1,000 of them.
I didn't do that. Harry did that without anybody asking him anything.
in the 10 by 10 by 10, because there's 100 on the bottom layer and another 100 and another 100. So this connects with the name. We'd use a lot of language that derives from the Greek words. And so we talk about a milliliter, right? A milliliter is 1,000th part of a liter. And a milliliter is the amount that fits in a cubic centimeter. And a medicine spoon is 5 milliliters. A standard medicine spoon is 5 milliliters, and it would take 5 of those little cubic centimeters full of whatever medicine or whatever it was. Okay, 5 of those will go into the medicine spoon. And to be able to get the dosage right is often a matter of scale and proportion. Sometimes, especially with children, the amount of medicine that they're given, it depends on their body weight. So you don't give as much to a very small child as you would to a teenager. And to get those proportions right, you've got to understand scale. Really, it's terribly important. So nurses are experts at understanding the scales involved in giving the right dose of medicine. So
another example there, Tony. My niece, both my nieces, to my chagrin, both of my nieces hated maths. They had teacher in primary school at the age of about 8. Both of them got switched off maths, and there was nothing they could do. Auntie Caroline, just don't even talk to us, don't want to know. And my older niece was like, I don't need it anyway, I'm going to be a hairdresser. I'm like, okay, that's what happened. That's the story. That's what happened. So she went to college and she started learning to be a hairdresser. And she came back to me and said, Auntie Caroline, guess what? So I had to learn about maths because I have to work out all the correct amounts to use to color hair, or else people's hair will fall out. They'll be the wrong color. It'll be all. It won't color correctly. It just won't work at all. Disasters can happen if she gets it wrong. So she's like, Auntie Caroline, I am using maths after all.
What a lovely story. Yeah. So we've got milliliters, and 1,000 milliliters make a litre. And one of the activities that we're suggesting for you is you get a jug that shows you a litre, or better still, a litre divided up into milliliters.
That's on my prep list.
And you get some containers of different sorts that you've got in your kitchen or wherever, a mug, a cup, a bottle, whatever, and of different shapes and sizes. And you, first of all, guess how much liquid they will contain, and then you measure it in milliliters. You need to have in your head the thought about, oh, I love your mug. Oh, Caroline, for those of you who are listening to the radio, Caroline has got a mug, which is a dog with a big black nose, the 2 little black eyes, and the handle that she's holding is supposed to be sort of an ear. It's a brown ear.
Those of you that know, his name is Gromit.
Oh, Gromit. Okay.
It's Gromit.
Gromit's quite famous, isn't he?
Yes,
Okay. So, and this is for primary. I mean, the Den was for very tiny children, but taking an egg cup or a mug or a bottle or other containers, getting them, putting them in order according to how much liquid they'll hold.
How much do you think they'll hold? So first of all, don't measure it first, right, Tony? First, put it in the order that allow the child complete freedom to put them in the order that they think they're going to hold. And if you get, especially if you get conical shapes. And
something that's tall and thin, and something else that's quite short but fat.
Another great one is washing up liquid. You use the washing up liquid bottle and different sizes of those without looking at the amount, because they're not cylindrical. They're not
any regular shape, are they? They're sort of odd shapes. Yes.
You get lots of different odd shapes. Keep your containers, especially the odd shaped ones, keep them and then get them to line them up in the order they think there are. If you've got more than one child, you can get them all to line them up, take a picture, and then go on. Sorry. So back to you, Tony.
Well, another thing that we've suggested as an activity is that you make, as Caroline showed you, the 10 by 10 by 10 centimeter cube out of paper or cardboard. And then you fill it with something granular like sand or rice or gravel or something, and you use that, because then you can pour that into the jug and see that it really does, as I've been telling you, you can believe me, it really does contain a litre of whatever you put into it.
So we'll talk about that in a moment. We're going to have a quick break, and I'm actually going to prep that. We're gonna see what happens with this jug. We're gonna do it, Tony. We're gonna do it.
Have you got some sand or rice or something?
I'll find something. I hope so. I thought I don't have rice, do I? I'll work it out. I'll work something out. Just straight after the break.
It's time for a show on Relax Radio. It talks about me and you. It's time for a show on Relax Radio. It talks about me and you. So listen to us, 24 hours, and let the happiness come to you on Relax.
Okay, well, I've got a tray to keep things a little bit not too messy. And I have found, I won't show you how much, I found some powder. I'm going to put, this is 500 milliliter. My jug is not a litre jug, it's a 500 milliliter jug. So how many 500 milliliter jugs do you think it's going to take to fill my 10 by 10 by 10 centimeter cube? We're going to find out. Well, it's all in there. How full do you think my cube is? So by looking at it, which do you think holds more, the jug or the cube? Or are they the same?
Are you going to show us, Caroline?
I certainly am. I do my best.
Ooh, it's about half full, and I can count above the level of that powder 5 centimeters above. Yes, it's half full.
It's half full. It is half full. So that's inspired me now, Tony, to actually make a cube out of clear plastic so that you can actually see it. And I love this because I've always used containers with known measures or not known measures, but I've never used a cube. So you've inspired me now to create a cube so I can use this.
There's more to this story, and that is if you find a mass of something, if you're cooking and you find what is in grams or milligrams, okay, is there a connection, I'm asking, between these milligrams and milliliters? And how come whoever it was who invented this system hundreds of years ago decided on just this amount being a litre and just this amount being a metre or centimetre? And the answer is that at 4 degrees centigrade, water, right, one cubic centimetre of water, that little tiny cube that we've been talking about throughout the program, 1 cubic centimetre of water weighs 1 milligram. Okay, that if you fill that with water, and so that would weigh 1 milligram.
1 milligram is just 1,000th of a gram.
And so what we've got is the relationship between milliliters and milligrams. So a milliliter weighs a milligram. Well, if you take the same fluid or whatever you put in.
And believe it or not, I think my cubic centimeter is a little bit bigger than it should be. But if this was liquid, it would lie flat inside the spoon. So the shape of it can be very deceiving as to its volume, because that amount of liquid would actually fit inside that little.
So a very nice activity for children and is to get these containers and some water or some granular substance and make a meter stick, make a box that's 10 by 10 by 10, make even a meter cube and experiment and ask some questions and find out the answers. So
Steve Benton's got one question right, Tony. He said grommet. Steve Benton was the one that with the monkey that helps us with one of the Guinness World Records team. He's watching us.
Okay.
Hello, Steve.
Great. Yeah. If you take the driving test in this country, it's probably very similar in other countries, you've got to be able to read a number plate from 20.5 meters. Now, why it's 20.5? I suppose it's because it's got to be more than 20. They make it 20.5. Okay. So can you actually judge that distance? You might know the answer, but can you actually stand in the, along by the road and say that car and its number plate is exactly 20.5 meters away from me? And most of us would find it quite difficult to make that judgment. But what we're trying to do with children is to help them to be able to estimate distances and areas and volumes and capacities and speeds as well. To have a sense of what it means, to know, to have a feeling about it, that you won't get it exactly right, but you're almost right when you make these guesstimates.
Well, if you estimate your speed, it's really helpful because it stops you from getting speeding tickets when you're a grown-up.
Yeah, yes. Okay, so, and also, of course, estimating distances. You know, if I walk from here to the next village, how far would it be? And can you estimate the distance? Or somebody might tell you the distance, and was your guess right? You know, did you get it right? Yeah.
And one of the ways, just a little clue there, is, for example, if you're whether you're walking or driving, if you know how long it takes to get to one place and you know how far it is, then you can work out A, how long it'll take you, or B, how far it is. Whichever one's missing can help you work out the missing one. And I use that in real life all the time. So I said, well, that's about the same distance as it is from here to there, and I know how long that takes, so I know A, how far it is, and B, how long it takes to get there. And it's very practical.
Right, as you don't get held up in the traffic jam.
Well, you have to know about the traffic conditions. That's another factor. That's where radio helps.
Yes. Yeah. So we have got quite a lot of fun things to do. I mean, there's a lot of learning the right names for things, which isn't very exciting. But if you're doing it because you're talking about something that's quite interesting, you just gradually learn the names. And also, for children in school and even at home, if you make a poster which explains some of these things, another activity for children is to make a poster, okay, that explains something they've just been investigating. And then they can make a presentation and explain it to somebody else using their poster. But they've got these names on, you know, like milliliter, millimeter, centimeter, kilogram, or whatever they are, all these different words. And they're explained on the poster, but the words are written there. So whenever they look at the poster, they're reminded of the words and what they mean.
Right, yeah. And you can make the models out of paper like this and stick them on, and they won't fall off. They will stick out of the wall, but they're light enough that you can actually stick them on, even though it's quite big, until they've learnt the shape. Or you can make a smaller version of it, a scaled down version of it.
Yes. And of course, scale, as we've been saying in all these other programs, is so important, because in manufacturing, whether it's building a house or a whole new development of hundreds of houses, or whether it's making some engineering part or an aeroplane or whatever, generally the designer makes a scale model before they go to the expense of and all the trouble of making one the right size. So you'll very often go into a building site, into the office or into an architect's office, and see a model building. And of course, I don't know how many of them there are around now. You see little children playing with screens these days, but all my children played with dolls' houses too.
Oh, they're still alive and well, thank goodness.
Well, dolls' houses.
Houses and Lego. Well, Lego, you see, Lego's super popular, and it's very much scaled down. If you go to Legoland, it's incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can walk around a model village, which is you know, about half the houses are about half as high as the children, and they can walk around and look down on the roofs of houses. So it's lots of fun and lots of very important practical uses that are made of scale.
And then the other thing, for our Guinness World Record attempt, we made a scale model of it, both on paper and a version of, yes, we made a small scale model of it with balloons. We did a world record with balloons, and we had it was about a meter long. and it was a complete scale model of it. So yeah, it's really important, and you learn a lot from creating the scale models. As in particular, when you're learning about scale and measurement is huge.
But you also learn about whether this is a good design or not by testing it out with a small one.
Yeah,
and that's and that's cost effective in the real world. If you're going to design a car or whatever you're going to house or whatever you're designing.
One of the lovely Aiming High activities included the suggestion that you make a model of your own home or your own bedroom, and actually using cardboard, and that's huge. My niece did that, and with her dad, and just happened to be her dad because the mum was working. I'm an engineer, so I believe in women being engineers. And yeah, she loved it. She absolutely loved it. And she made sure, she kind of directed it because she's quite young. She directed it and made sure that all the details were there, and that, oh, they know that fish, that's too big, that's too small. And she was doing all the proportion of the scale without even knowing what a centimetre is. So it was amazing. It was wonderful to witness it. I saw it through WhatsApp, but nonetheless, I saw it.
It's great.
Yeah. So we've got 2 minutes left, Tony. So should we finish with the a top tip on mindset, on having a growth mindset for learning maths that's going to help parents and teachers?
Oh, I know what the top tip is. Don't worry about mistakes. In fact, mistakes are quite a good thing because you should learn from your mistakes. Never get upset when you make a mistake. Just think, well, you might think, I wish I hadn't done that, but mainly think, what can I learn from that?
That's a super powerful question. Whenever you make a mistake, train yourself and your young learners to say to themselves, what did I learn? Rather than, all those negative things that you feel in that one instant, but then the next thing you do is, what did I learn? And it takes you right out of that negative place, and you're immediately thinking of new ideas. It actually inspires new ideas when you make mistakes, and then work out what you learned and where to go from there. So I think that's it. That's all the time we've got this week. So thank you so much, Tony. It's wonderful doing this with you every week. So next week at 4 o'clock, are we doing balloons or soap bubbles next week?
Oh, well, we might even do both, Caroline. They're both about spheres, aren't they?
So we'll have to have 2 videos up for ready for next Monday on YouTube. For this one, please check out the Aiming High website. The links are all there. We've got the make a donation if you would like to. We've got the YouTube video that's just launched on scale with cubes, and that the link is in the description. And we'll see you next week with balloons and bubbles, and we're continuing on the theme of scale, and of course the mindset, the growth mindset, on how to help your children love learning and enjoy mathematics. Oh, and I've come up with some things. We've got some new things going on here, Tony, with the Maths Toys YouTube channel, where you do, was it maths? Oh, we do maths. Oh, we find the maths in games and the games in maths. That's it. Thank you, Tony. See you next week.
See you next week.
Thank you, everybody. See you next week.
Goodbye.